It's the final quarter, and I'm joined by Kate Allday. Kate is presently studying medicine, however has grown up on a farm between Lascelles and Sea Lake. Welcome to Kate. Kate has also played with the Sea Lake Tigers Netball Club and Woomalang Tennis Club. I had the pleasure of meeting Kate at the Nandaly Grain Receival, where she was working during the summer holiday period. I was part of the Bullock Shire Council's team, the Paddock Run initiative, which distributed flood recovery support information, along with Cookers Country Cookies to the harvest workforce and promoted local food businesses. We heard that several farmers in your area encountered difficulties with their equipment getting bogged on numerous occasions over harvest. These situations not only led to frustration and time lost, but also posed potential hazards and safety concerns. Astonishingly, one farmer was bogged over 150 times. To mitigate these challenges, the Birchip Cropping Group took the initiative to organise the training sessions that focused on safe methods of retrieving equipment, and it was a resounding success. You probably encountered a number of these farmers at the Nandaly grain testing site who had been bogged or had issues with yield quality and loss. Such a trying and testing time, coupled with road closures due to impacts of floods, which made it so much harder for farmers to access their properties. Grain testing sites tend to be staffed with a large number of young women. It must be difficult sometimes hearing those stories and helping them through it. So, Kate, I'm sure you had plenty of stories, so we won't go into them, but was there many farmers that were impacted during the floods?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say that everyone was, whether it just be like the masses of rain or just the flooding just laying there. It might have been hard just to get out of the paddock and, get to the grain receival site. But yeah, every farmer was impacted, whether it be directly or indirectly.
Yeah. And how was your experience with the Paddock Run, and how did it help support the harvest workforce in your area?
The Paddock Run's such an important initiative. These farmers were able to access and be aware of the mental health services and financial services provided for them in such a stressful time of the year. I'm sure a lot of the truck drivers and the growers threw the little piece of cardboard with the support information on the floor of their truck and tucked into the Cookers cookies straight away. But I think just knowing that these supports are available would be reassuring and potentially used later on if mental health and financial counselling would help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about the broader experience, so throughout Nandaly, Sea Lake and those areas during that October 2022 flood event?
So it was certainly a year like no other, and I'm sure farmers don't need me to tell them that. So we saw flooding, hail damage, bogging, it was extended harvest, and just like the regular stresses of harvest, such as breakdowns and the occasional fire. So for the most part, Sea Lake Nandaly district didn't experience any riverine flooding, but there was some around the Tyrrell Creek. However, there was excessive rainfall and runoff, so it did lead to some widespread areas of localised flooding. So obviously it was extremely devastating for the farmers, and it also just inconvenienced a lot of people where roads were ruined because of it. There were potholes everywhere, major detours to work, school, the shops, for those living out of town. And just with the farmers especially, trying to manage harvest logistics, there was just huge questions, so many unknowns, what if it keeps raining? Do I need a contractor? Can I get access to grain storage from my paddock? When do I need the labour, and do I need it? And will I be able to deliver on contracts? Just a lot of things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it put a lot of things up in arms, and I'm sure a lot of people weren't sure of the future. So it was really important that those Paddock Run postcards got out there to ensure that there was help. If people were stuck, there was a avenue they could take to help them out. And what in your community, could you tell us about the really important part of social connection and the leadership programs and events that have been introduced to help the local youth of your area, I guess, prosper and grow?
Yeah, for sure. So we obviously have our footy, netball, hockey club, which is a great place where people can make friendships with people outside of Sea Lake and, just develop and cement those friendships. But our secondary school has been fortunate enough to be provided the opportunity to offer places to Year 9 students at School for Student Leaderships for quite a few years now. I went to one in Gippsland in Year 9 and I felt like I came back with lifelong friendships, really great connections, more confidence, better leadership skills, things like that. But I think the most important part was as 15-year-old kids, we had to design a community leadership project targeting areas for improvement in our community, or just where it brings people together. So we've had colour runs, things like that. Last year, the Year 9s organised a family fun night. So there was free events where everyone can just interact, get along, and just break down some accessibility barriers like that. We have the youth group, so they organise freezer events, Halloween, Easter sort of things, just to get our local youth out and about. So yeah, it's just really important to establish those connections as a community and make these friendships more accessible with people in our shire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think after COVID, we've definitely learned how we can make things more accessible and open it up for a more wide variety of people and offer people more avenues through an easier way. They don't always have to travel to maybe do something. Sometimes we can connect socially like this right now through a virtual setting. So that's really important. And so to pursue your interests, you would travel a lot of kilometres, I'd imagine, as you do study medicine and have played some sports. So what are the challenges for rural communities in accessing health support, and what needs to change, do you think?
So I've just recently moved to Bendigo for uni. So I'm doing Bachelor of Biomedical Science Medical. So it's a 3-year course here and then a 4-year course of Doctor of Medicine in Shepparton. So that's all really rural based. And I love that idea because it's addressing the healthcare shortage in Australia in rural areas specifically. There's a massive amount of data showing health inequalities between those who live in major cities compared to where we live. So, for example, like asthma, diabetes, high blood pressure, all those sort of things. But there's so much that we can do to reduce these health inequalities, better the life expectancy, and just reduce these diseases. We can make incentives. It doesn't have to be monetary value. We can make accommodation available for doctors and nurses and specialists moving into and working into our area, opening up rural medical schools such as the one in Shepparton. When these were introduced, local doctors, they can be upskilled, make connections to these small communities. And I know I'm from a rural community. I want to come back to a rural community. I know how it is. We need telehealth options and doctors that fly in, fly out, such as locums, as well as some outreach clinics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm definitely in agreement with you with that. And sometimes it's not always the monetary value that has to be offered. It's actually what you get out of it. So there's a huge benefit in actually, I guess, the connection to the community, as well as being able to be there in a community and support a small community is definitely a huge benefit, as I've learned through all my community involvements. And I guess the big question, though, is what can be done now, and what can we do to inspire other young people like you to take the responsibility to be part of that change? How do we get them on board? How do we convince them to listen to us?
Yeah, well, there's obviously not one straightforward answer to this, but we just need to be assertive, advocate for change where we want it and when we need it. And young people are the future of the Bull Oak Shire, and by giving them a voice, asking them for input, it's already a step in the right direction. So we just need leaders of the community to teach and pass on information, provide a chance for youth to have a say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've been lucky in my community involvements with the mentors that I've had that have been able to actually be in my life and help support me in learning that it is okay to have a voice in the community and stand up for what you believe in as a young person. So that's always great. There is also coming up a youth forum on the 25th of May. So the day is all about bringing the year 9 and 10 students from across the 5 Bull Oak secondary schools together after a few difficult years with COVID and floods to discuss their mental health and wellbeing. Tim O'Donnell, a social worker, will discuss strategies for their mental wellbeing and resilience through creative therapy and something for young people. There will also be a session on the harmful impacts of vaping. We are now running a community engagement session to inform our children, youth and families plan, which will engage us and hopefully inform us of everyone's thoughts from right through from a young person through to a carer. We are also providing the healthy catering through the Birchip VCAL catering group. So I'd like to thank the North Central League and good luck to all the teams today. A special thanks also to Emergency Management Victoria for your support. We hope you enjoyed this vodcast. Keep a lookout in your local papers, Footy Recorder, social media, and on our websites for information. We will transcribe a summary of today's vodcast and make it available in print form. If you'd like a copy, reach out to us next week by calling customer service on 1300 520 520. Have a safe and happy weekend, and thank you so much, Kate, for joining us.